"Step away from my niece," I said, as two men in mismatched tactical vests angled toward Emma on my driveway. HOA President Patricia Mallory hovered between them with a clipboard and a grin polished to a glare. Sprinklers ticked. My sister's wind chime rang once, thin as a warning. "Detective Coleman," Patricia said, savoring it. "We're executing community enforcement. She's coming with us." "On whose authority?" "Mine and theirs." I looked the officers over. No nameplates, Velcro curling, a holster that squeaked like new plastic. A barcode sticker clung to a vest strap. "Department?" I asked. The taller one shifted. "Metro Community Response." "Never heard of it," I said. "Badge numbers?" Silence. Emma's backpack zipper rasped in her hands. Heat pushed the smell of fresh paint from the fence, her unfinished mural breathing color behind us. "Curfew violations, property defacement," Patricia said, tapping paper with a lacquered nail. "We warned you." "You mailed threats," she smiled. "Compliance notices." The shorter man reached for Emma's elbow. "Touch her," I said, and we stopped playing nice. Patricia tilted her head. "You don't control everything here, Michael." I held up my phone, thumb over speed dial to dispatch. "Let's verify your credentials." The man hesitated. The SUV idled, chrome twitching with heat mirage. "Emma," I said, eyes on them. "Inside." She didn't move. "Ma'am," the shorter one tried again. "Last chance," I said. "Badge, number, agency, now." The taller man swallowed. "We don't have to." "You do," I said. "Or you go." Patricia's smile thinned. "You're obstructing." "No," I said. "I'm noticing." I stepped closer, catching Patricia's floral perfume over exhaust. I pointed to the dangling price tag tucked under the man's holster strap. "Lose something at checkout?" Color climbed his neck. For a beat, the street listened. Sprinklers, wind chime, idle growl. Then the men backed down, slow, embarrassed, retreating to their SUV while Patricia stood stranded in her own certainty. "You'll regret this," she hissed. "Not today," I said. Doors thudded, tires whispered. Emma's breath hitched, silent, shaking. The wind chime rang twice, steadier now, like a pulse-finding rhythm. "What would you do if your HOA president hired fake cops to intimidate your family? If you've ever had to stare down a lie with nothing but the truth, subscribe and stay with me, because this was only the opening shot. Let me back up and tell you how this started. After the case that put me on leave, quiet was the only thing I thought I needed. Maple Crest Estates sold quiet, the brochure kind. Curved streets, clipped hedges, rules laminated into a smile. Emma and I took the corner lot with an old oak that leaned like it was listening. First week, Emma asked to paint the fence. Grief reached her hands before words did. She sketched her mother in chalk, then traded lines for color. A sky split by a bird mid-break, feathers like blue glass. SUVs slowed to look. Some nodded, some didn't. Patricia noticed everything. She arrived with a welcome packet and a 30-second appraisal of my lawn. Earrings clicked, a metronome for control. Art was fine within guidelines. The fence color was non-standard. She said community cohesion, like a tithe. Letters followed, fines for a trash bin angled wrong, warnings for a planter visible from the street. A photo of Emma on the sidewalk after 9 with curfew underlined. The paper smelled like toner and lemon. The tone smelled like threat. I logged every notice anyway. Old habits, dates, times, postage, tone. I circled patterns and listened to the wind chime when sleep turned thin. A week later, a black SUV rolled past at 2 a.m., lights dark, a bright rectangle where the plate should be. 2 nights after, an unsigned security alert lay under my doormat. Emma pretended not to see it. She kept painting. I kept watch. By the 3rd week, patrols grew bolder. Vests, radios, the cosplay of authority. Patricia called them off-duty officers at a board meeting I wasn't invited to. Rumors move faster than minutes. Graffiti spikes crime. New residents don't respect standards. A detective thinks he's above rules. I don't care about gossip. I care about proof. So I took photos. I measured tire widths on dusted curb lines. I noted new leather squeaks and aftermarket boot scrapes. I timed their loops and marked Emma's worst nights. Each detail tightened a net only they couldn't see. And this morning, when Patricia brought them to my driveway, the net began to close. War meant I couldn't wait for the next strike. I had to move first. The black SUVs were gone, but their exhaust lingered, a bitter chemical haze clinging to the morning air. My sister's wind chime clinked in the heat, fragile but steady. Emma wiped her face with her sleeve. I wanted to tell her it was over, but even lies felt too heavy. Inside, I said. The foyer swallowed us in cool shadow. Coffee and lemon cleaner filled the air, the faint comfort of control. Emma set her backpack down. The zipper rasped like a whisper too loud. "I'm sorry," she said, voice shaking. "You didn't do anything wrong." "I painted a fence." "And she hates color," I said. The doorbell chimed once, short, hesitant. Through the peephole, I saw Daniel Ruiz, my neighbor. Shoulders curved forward like a man trying to make himself smaller. His cap shaded half his face. He kept glancing toward Patricia's house. When I opened the door, he took a step back. "Didn't mean to bother you." "You're fine. Come in." He hesitated before crossing the threshold. I saw what happened. Those guys, they weren't real cops, were they?" "No," I said. "They weren't." He blew out a breath, rubbing his neck. "I thought so." Emma peeked around the corner. "Who are you?" "Daniel," he said. "Next door. Retired firefighter." He gave a small wave, hand trembling. "She's going too far, Mike." "Patricia?" He nodded. Night patrols, citations, cameras pointed at people's doors. Last week she fined a widow for improper curtain alignment. His voice cracked. "I've seen a lot, but this feels like control gone rotten. Did you ever see those fake cops before today?" He swallowed. "Yeah. My doorbell cam picked them up last Thursday, around 2 a.m. They tried my gate." The kettle clicked behind me. "Show me." He reached into his hoodie pocket and placed a thumb drive on the counter. "Footage is on here. I didn't tell her I had it. Didn't tell anyone." "Why now?" "Because this morning," he looked at Emma, "because she's crossing into something ugly." We moved to my small office. The walls were half-shadowed, blinds slicing sunlight into bars. I plugged in the drive. The monitor flickered to gray static, then grainy night footage. Daniel leaned close. "There, that SUV." The camera showed two men in vests, flashlights sweeping lawns. One held a clipboard, the other peered over my fence toward Emma's mural. The mic caught a single word: erase. "Pause," I said. I zoomed in on the vest. The patch read, "Metro Community Response." Stitched too clean, letters slightly off-center. "No such department in the county," I said. "Probably a shell." Daniel exhaled. "She pays them with HOA funds. I heard her brag at a meeting." I turned to him. "You sure?" He looked down. "I didn't record it. Thought if I kept quiet, she'd leave me alone." "She won't," I said. He nodded slowly. "Yeah. Learned that the hard way." The footage played on loop, the fake cops pacing like predators. Outside, a crow called once, sharp and mocking. "Send me the originals," I said. "Don't delete anything. Metadata intact." "You're building a case?" "Always." He looked toward the window, where the wind chime moved in the breeze. "You still working homicide?" "Technically on leave," I said, "but truth doesn't wait for paperwork." Daniel smiled faintly. "You sound like my captain used to." "Then you know the rule," I said. "Document everything." He nodded again, firmer this time. "Board meeting's Thursday. She'll stack the room." "Let her," I said. "We'll stack the evidence." He hesitated at the door. "Mike, if you go after her, she'll come for you harder." "She already did." Emma watched from the hallway, eyes red but alert. When Daniel left, she whispered, "You trust him?" "I trust his fear," I said. "That's usually where the truth hides." Outside, Patricia's house gleamed in the sunlight, curtains drawn, perfect, sterile. I jotted notes, footage, timestamps, license fragments, HOA ledger anomalies. Professional instinct kicked in, slow, methodical, lethal in its patience. I'd faced killers with less arrogance than Patricia Mallory, but none had the luxury of hiding behind lawn bylaws and Christmas lights. The wind shifted, the chimes sang again. My sister's voice in metal and air. Emma turned toward it, a flicker of calm in her eyes. War had started, but not the way Patricia thought. It wouldn't be fists or vandalism. It would be evidence, exposure, and precision. I opened my laptop, typed a single line at the top of a new file. Operation Compliance. If Patricia wanted to weaponize the rules, she'd learn what it felt like when someone who understood them better fired back. Thursday crept up like a fuse. By the time I pulled into the community center lot, the sky was a dull bruise, storm clouds rolling over manicured rooftops. Patricia's white Lexus gleamed under the awning, hazard lights blinking like taunts. Inside, the HOA board meeting was already standing room only. I could hear the buzz through the glass, paper rustling, chairs scraping, whispers sharp as mosquito wings. Emma sat beside me in the passenger seat, sketchbook clutched to her chest. "Do I have to go in?" "No," I said, "but keep your phone on." "I don't like when she looks at me." "Neither do I." The air smelled of ozone and cut grass. I watched Patricia's reflection in the window, posture perfect, smile surgical. As she greeted residents one by one, she shook hands, patted shoulders, and whispered the kind of poison that sounds like friendship. I stepped out. My boots hit asphalt slick with humidity. Wind pushed at my jacket, rattling the wind chime back home in my memory. Inside, fluorescent lights hummed overhead. The board table gleamed with laminated agendas and a vase of fake tulips. Patricia lifted the microphone with both hands like it was a crown. "Good evening, neighbors. Let's maintain order tonight." Her eyes flicked toward me. "We've had some disturbances lately. It's important we remember rules exist for everyone." I sat near the back, recording discreetly. Daniel was 2 rows ahead, shoulders rigid. When he turned, I saw the hesitation written in his eyes, half apology, half warning. He wasn't ready to stand up yet. Patricia gestured to a stack of printed notices. "Vandalism incidents continue. Last week, our maintenance team, under security supervision, found graffiti near Lot 12. "My lot," someone murmured agreement. Another whispered shame. I raised my hand. "Madam President, was that security licensed?" Her smile didn't crack. "Of course. Can you provide their badge numbers?" "That's not relevant to this meeting. It's relevant if they impersonated officers." Gasps fluttered through the crowd like startled birds. Patricia straightened her papers. "Detective, please, let's not turn a community forum into a spectacle." I kept my voice even. "Then answer the question." A man in the front row cleared his throat. "I saw those guys too. They looked official." Patricia latched on to him instantly. "Exactly, Thomas. They're professionals." Daniel's knee bounced under his chair. I could see the war inside him, the urge to speak fighting the fear of reprisal. His hands tightened on his cap. I met his eyes. Just once. No words. He stood slowly. "I, have something?" His voice trembled. "My doorbell camera caught them. They tried my gate." Patricia's smile faltered, a hairline crack. "Mr. Ruiz, are you sure it wasn't Neighborhood Watch volunteers?" "I know what a badge looks like," he said. "They didn't have one." The room went quiet. Even the air conditioning seemed to hold its breath. I rose. "Would the board like to see the footage?" Patricia's gaze turned to ice. "That's not admissible here." "It will be at the sheriff's office," I said. Someone whispered, "What's going on?" Another muttered, "Is that legal?" Patricia slammed the gavel. "This meeting is adjourned pending review." But no one moved. Daniel's shoulders slumped with relief and fear at once. His conflict had broken open for everyone to see. I caught the look Patricia shot him, pure venom wrapped in a politician's grin. When she stormed past me toward the door, her perfume trailed behind like gasoline fumes. "You think you're clever?" she hissed. "I think you're nervous," I said. Her heels clicked down the hallway, each one a countdown. Outside, the first drops of rain began to fall. Daniel joined me under the overhang, rubbing his palms together. "I just painted a target on my house," he said. "She already painted it," I said. "You just turned on the light." He looked at me then, something steadier in his eyes. "I've got more cameras, front and back. If she sends those guys again, we'll have every angle." "Good," I said, "because she will." The thunder cracked, low and long. The rain came hard enough to blur the parking lines, washing pollen and pretense into the gutters. Patricia's Lexus peeled out, tires hissing through the downpour. Emma texted, "You okay?" I typed back. "Storm's started. We're fine." Daniel followed my gaze toward the sky. "What happens now?" "Now," I said, "we stop reacting. We start pulling threads." Back home, the wind chime swung wild in the storm, metal notes colliding like arguments. Inside, Emma's mural gleamed through the rain, a splash of defiance that refused to fade. I opened my laptop, cross-referenced the HOA's expenditures with county vendor filings. One name repeated across payments: Mallory Properties, LLC. Patricia's own shell company. I smiled without humor. She hadn't hired fake cops. She'd paid them, with everyone's dues. Next step, prove it. By dawn the next day, I was already running on. Caffeine and instinct. Rain still clung to the streets, each puddle catching fragments of the sunrise like broken glass. Emma slept upstairs, the house quiet except for the hum of my laptop fan and the faint clink of my sister's wind chime through the cracked window. I scrolled through HOA financial statements, public record buried under cheerful PDF headings like Beautification Fund and Community Safety Enhancement. Patricia had signed off on every line. Thousands of dollars routed to Mallory Properties, LLC, then out again to an entity called Metro Community Response, the fake badge crew. I leaned back, rubbed my temples. It wasn't just petty intimidation anymore. It was fraud. A car door slammed outside. My hand went to the service weapon locked in the drawer out of habit, then relaxed when I saw Daniel on the porch, soaked hoodie, coffee thermos in hand. "Morning," he said. "You look like you haven't slept." I didn't. He stepped inside, shaking off rain. "She's moving faster. You see the newsletter?" He slid a damp printout across the table. Patricia's smiling face beamed from the header. Security success. HOA partnership reduces vandalism. Beneath it, a blurry photo of the mural, half painted over in beige. Emma's art, erased. My stomach knotted. "When?" "Late last night. Maintenance crew did it before sunrise. I heard the trucks." I stood, pushing the chair back too hard. "That's tampering with property." "She says it's community property. She's about to learn what discovery feels like." Daniel watched me pace. "You've done this before, haven't you?" "Different uniforms, same lies," I said. "When people think authority protects them, they stop questioning where it came from." He nodded, eyes darting toward the street. "You gonna call the sheriff?" "Not yet. I want every brick of this in place before she knows the wall's missing." I pulled up a vendor registry, cross-matched Mallory Properties. Shell address in a strip mall, no employees, no tax filings. Classic laundering route. Daniel leaned over my shoulder. "You can trace all that? Public records, procurement databases, payment time stamps. If she used HOA funds, there's a trail. And if she didn't? Then she's funding it herself, which means motive runs deeper than power trips." He frowned. "Control?" "Fear," I said, "of losing it." A knock interrupted us, soft, cautious. I opened the door to find Mrs. Kim from 2 houses down, clutching a raincoat around her shoulders. She glanced over both shoulders before speaking. "I shouldn't be here," she whispered, "but you should see this." She handed me her phone. The screen showed last night's HOA group chat. Patricia posting photos of the half-erased mural, captioned, "Order restored. Thank you to our partners in security." Another message underneath from an unknown number. "Payment confirmed. Next visit scheduled." I exhaled slowly. "Do you still have this thread?" Mrs. Kim nodded. "Yes, but she deletes things sometimes." "Send me screenshots. Don't mention it to anyone." She hesitated. "I just want peace." "So do I said. "But peace without accountability is silence." After she left, Daniel muttered, "You think she knows we're looking?" "Not yet, but she will soon." Outside, the rain had stopped. Sunlight spilled across the wet pavement, every puddle reflecting the same perfect sky Patricia pretended to own. I walked to the porch, listening to the faint echo of hammers from somewhere down the block. They were building something, probably another ornamental fence to hide another mess. The wind chime moved softly, one note at a time. Back inside, I opened a new document labeled Evidence Log 1. Time-stamped financials, screenshot archive, witness statements, Daniel Ruiz, Mrs. Kim, vendor registry. Each entry felt like loading around into the chamber. Daniel sat at the kitchen island, tracing the edge of his coffee lid. You sure you want to push this far? HOA boards don't fight fair. Neither do detectives with nothing left to lose, I said. He looked at the mural through the window, its faded edges still glowing faintly under morning light. She'll come for that again. Then I'll be waiting, I said. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. One message. Cease interference or face legal action. No signature, but the phrasing was pure Patricia. Bureaucratic venom dressed as professionalism. I smiled without humor. She's rattled. Daniel leaned forward. That means she's dangerous. I know, I said, shutting the laptop, but it also means she's sloppy. I slipped my badge into my pocket, the metal cold against my palm. The sound of the wind chime followed me out the door. Steady, defiant, alive. The war had shifted. It wasn't just about a mural anymore. It was about corruption hiding under vinyl siding and welcome signs. And Patricia Mallory had just made her first mistake. She underestimated the wrong man. By Friday, Maple Crest Estates felt different, quieter, but not calm. The kind of quiet that follows a siren. Lawns gleamed too perfectly, blinds stayed half closed, and everyone waved like they were rehearsing for a hostage video. Patricia's shadow hung over every cul-de-sac, unseen but felt, like the faint buzz before a fluorescent light burns out. I parked by the mailbox cluster, camera phone in hand. My breath fogged in the cool morning air. On the community bulletin board, a new notice fluttered. Notice of non-compliance. Lot 12, Coleman. Unauthorized recording of HOA proceedings. Violation of Privacy Code 9.4. Below it, my name in bold. She wasn't even subtle. Daniel approached from the corner, hoodie up, thermos steaming. You saw it? Yeah. She's doubling down. That's what people do when they realize the story's slipping from their hands, I said. He looked around. You think she knows we're tracking her payments? Maybe, but I want her to know I'm not hiding either. A black SUV rolled past. No markings, same type from before. Both of us went still. The driver didn't look our way, but I caught the faint glint of a camera lens through the tinted window. Daniel muttered, "They're documenting you now." "Good," I said. "They'll catch my good side." Back home, Emma sat cross-legged on the porch, sketchbook open. She was redrawing the mural, lines rough but defiant. Her pencil smudged with every angry swipe. She painted over it, Emma said quietly. Like Mom never mattered. I crouched beside her. She can't paint you out of memory, kid. Emma nodded, eyes wet. I dream about Mom, every time Patricia's there, telling me to keep within guidelines. The words burned. Not anymore, I said. We're taking those guidelines apart. Inside, I pulled up the HOA's public filings again. There it was, a new expense posted at dawn. Security extension fee, $4,500, the same shell account, same signature. She was paying them again. I dialed a contact, Detective Sanders, still at the precinct. "Mike," he answered, voice groggy. "You're supposed to be on leave." "Yeah, well, leave found me work." "You got something? Fraud, impersonation, misuse of funds. HOA president contracting fake cops under a property LLC. Need you to confirm business license history." He whistled softly. "That's heavy suburban crime, man. You know me, I don't chase noise, just truth. I'll run the name, send what you got." Already compiling. When I hung up, Daniel was by the window, watching Patricia's house. "She's having visitors," he said. Across the street, two men unloaded boxes from a van marked Community Logistics. Patricia directed them with clipped gestures, the queen of compliance in her natural habitat. I zoomed my phone camera. Inside the box, handcuffs, zip ties, radios, security gear. Again. "She's rebuilding," I said. Daniel's jaw tensed. "We can't let her scare people quiet again." "We won't, but we'll do it right." I sent Sanders a file folder with evidence logs, payment trails, screenshots, video stills. Then I printed hard copies, 3 sets, one for law enforcement, one for my lawyer friend downtown, one locked in the glove box. Insurance. The house creaked as the afternoon wind shifted. The wind chime clinked, steady rhythm, like Morse code for persistence. At dusk, I walked the block. Houses glowed in even squares, blinds snapping shut when I passed. Fear was spreading faster than Patricia's gossip. Near the gate, Mrs. Kim stood with her small dog, pretending to check mail. "She knows I talked to you," she whispered when I approached. "I found a citation in my box, unauthorized communication with residents under review." "Don't worry," I said. "You're not alone." "She'll call a special vote to remove you," she said. "She's done it before." "Let her. I'm not fighting for approval. I'm fighting for exposure." Mrs. Kim hesitated, then handed me an envelope. She dropped this off earlier, said it was notice of proceedings. I tore it open. Inside, a printed letter. "Cease and desist investigative activity. Violation of community code. Further action may result in expulsion from HOA property." It wasn't just intimidation now. It was legal mimicry, her favorite costume. Daniel joined me halfway down the street, flashlight beams slicing through twilight. "We're making her desperate," he said. "That's when people get careless." I pointed to the corner security camera mounted on a lamppost, Patricia's latest addition. The red light blinked erratically, like a heartbeat out of rhythm. "She's watching everything," Daniel murmured. "And I'm recording everything she watches," I said, tapping my pocket recorder. We stopped at the fence line. Emma's faded mural caught the last orange smear of sunset, the part Patricia couldn't erase. Daniel said quietly, "You think this ends with her backing down?" "No," I said. "It ends when she's exposed." Lightning flickered in the distance, silent and far off. The first drops of another storm kissed the pavement. "She wanted control," I said. "Now she's about to meet accountability." The wind picked up. The chime rang once, clear, defiant. Somewhere across the street, Patricia's blinds twitched. Let her look. I wanted her to see what was coming. Saturday morning brought no peace, only static, the kind that hums beneath a calm sky before something breaks. The neighborhood shimmered under a false sense of order, sprinklers clicking, kids riding bikes, a lawnmower droning like nothing was wrong. But I had spent too many years listening for lies. I could hear one in every note of this suburb's song. Emma sat at the kitchen table, earbuds in, pretending to study. The remains of her mural stared at us through the window, beige paint cracking under the early sun. My sister's wind chime twitched in the breeze, faint and stubborn. My phone buzzed, Detective Sanders. "Morning," I said. "Yeah, not for Patricia Mallory. I ran those names. Mallory Properties was dissolved 3 years ago. The new filings, fake EIN, dummy address, somebody's laundering HOA money through a dead company." I exhaled. "Thought so. Want me to loop in financial crimes?" "Not yet. I need her to step deeper first." Sanders sighed. "You're building a sting, aren't you? Call it professional habit. Careful, Mike. You don't wear the badge right now. I don't need it to recognize a criminal." I hung up and opened the laptop again. The HOA's online. Portal had a new announcement. Mandatory security meeting. Sunday, 8 p.m. Patricia never wasted time. Daniel called next. "You see the notice?" "Yeah. She's hosting it at the clubhouse, members only. Probably plans to justify her fake cops." "She's calling her defense meeting," I said. "Perfect. You going?" "Wouldn't miss it." I spent the rest of the morning preparing, recorded a statement, synced files to the cloud, printed 2 fresh copies of every piece of evidence. Emma helped highlight key points, quiet but focused. "You really think they'll listen?" she asked. "They don't have to," I said. "They just have to see." By dusk, I walked the perimeter of the clubhouse. Crickets hummed through the hedges. The air smelled like chlorine and cut grass, suburban camouflage. Through the glass, I saw Patricia at the podium, manicured confidence glowing under recessed lights. 2 of her hired security officers stood near the exit, arms crossed, same mismatched uniforms. I slipped in quietly, Daniel trailing behind. Conversation stuttered when I entered. Patricia's eyes found me like a spotlight. "Detective Coleman," she said into the mic. "How kind of you to join us." "Wouldn't dream of missing it," I said. Her tone dripped honey. "We're discussing our neighborhood's safety initiatives. Some residents misunderstand our efforts." I raised my hand. "I'd like clarification. The vendor you hired, Metro Community Response, can you confirm their licensing?" She paused, just long enough for the silence to thicken. "They are vetted professionals." By whom? By our board. Would that be the same board you chair? Murmurs rippled through the room. Someone whispered, "He's got proof." Patricia kept smiling. "This isn't the place for accusations." I stepped forward, unfolding a document. "Actually, it is. County records show Metro Community Response doesn't exist. The tax ID you use belongs to a shuttered landscaping company. Payments were processed through Mallory Properties LLC, your own corporation. That's embezzlement, Patricia." Gasps. The air conditioning roared to fill the silence. Her mask cracked. "You're misinterpreting the data." Daniel stood. "Then maybe you can explain why your officers tried my gate at 2 a.m. All eyes turned to him. His hands shook, but his voice didn't. "I was scared to speak before. Not anymore." Patricia's composure fractured. "This is a smear campaign." "Then call the sheriff," I said. "We'll let real law enforcement decide who's lying." Her lips parted, but no sound came. The shorter officer shifted near the door, jaw tight. I noticed the same barcode tag still hanging from his vest strap. Some habits die hard. "Funny thing," I said, "real cops remove their store tags." A ripple of laughter cut through the tension, small but deadly. The illusion broke right there. Patricia dropped the mic, grabbed her folder, and stormed toward the exit. Her fake cops followed like loyal ghosts. Daniel turned to me, voice low. "That's it, right? She's finished?" "Not yet," I said. "Tonight she'll panic, and panicked people make paperwork mistakes." We walked out into the night. The air was warm, electric, streetlights flickered, moths orbiting their halos. From her porch across the cul-de-sac, Patricia watched us, arms folded, silhouette sharp against the glow of her window. Daniel muttered, "She's still got power." "For now," I said. "But the only thing stronger than power is proof." The wind chime rang once in the distance, high, steady, almost proud. Tomorrow, I'd file everything with Sanders. Tonight, I'd let Patricia wonder how much I really knew. Sunday night stretched like wire, tense, silent, ready to snap. After the meeting, Patricia's perfect world had started to tilt, and I could almost hear the cracks spreading under her calm. My job now was simple. Make sure the truth had enough light to grow. The sky had turned amber before dark, a false calm bleeding across Maple Crest Estates. Daniel and I sat in my living room, blinds half drawn, screens glowing. The air smelled like stale coffee and printer ink. Emma lingered nearby, sketching absent-mindedly, one ear tuned to our conversation. "She's been quiet," Daniel said. "No cars, no patrols, not since the meeting." "That's not silence," I said. "That's regrouping." He looked up. "You really think she'll double down?" Patricia's built her whole identity on control. People like that don't surrender. They retaliate. He nodded, jaw tightening. "Then, we should be ready." I opened my laptop, pulling up a folder labeled Mallory Evidence, Phase 2. Inside, transaction logs, HOA minutes, screenshots, time-stamped video stills. But the key was buried in metadata, an invoice she'd tried to backdate. The file properties exposed her edit history, time-stamped, signed with her personal email. Amateur move. "This is the thread," I said, turning the screen. "She paid the fake cops personally after the board denied additional security funding." Daniel leaned closer. "So she went rogue." "Exactly. She used residence dues to buy her own intimidation squad." Emma stopped sketching. "Can you arrest her?" "Not yet," I said. "But we can make sure the sheriff does." I plugged in the drive Daniel had given me. The doorbell footage loaded again, 2 men at his gate, one shining a flashlight toward my house. But now, slowed frame by frame, a reflection in the SUV window caught my eye. Patricia's silhouette in the driver's seat. "There," I said, pointing. "She wasn't hiring them. She was leading them." Daniel exhaled. "Jesus!" I hit pause. "We release this too soon, she'll spin it. We release it right." I smiled faintly. "She'll bury herself trying to stop it." He frowned. "How?" "By contacting me. You're baiting her." "I'm inviting her." He rubbed his forehead. "You sure this doesn't cross lines?" I met his eyes. "She used fake cops to threaten my niece. My lines are already crossed." We waited. Hours bled into each other, the tick of the wall clock syncing with the hum of my computer fan. Outside, streetlights buzzed. Wind brushed against the porch screen. setting the chime into a low, uneven rhythm. Then, close to midnight, my phone vibrated. Unknown number, text message. We need to talk, alone. I held it up. She took the bait. Daniel swallowed. Where? Clubhouse parking lot. 20 minutes. You're going? Yeah, I'm coming. No, I said. You stay here. Back me up if I don't check in. He nodded reluctantly. Mike, be careful. The air outside was cold enough to sting. I drove slow, headlights slicing through mist. The clubhouse loomed ahead, dark except for one security lamp flickering near the sign. Patricia's Lexus sat beneath it, engine idling. When I stepped out, she was already waiting, arms folded, eyes rimmed red. The mask was gone. What stood in front of me was the real Patricia, tired, cornered, and dangerous. You think you're righteous, she said, but you don't understand what this neighborhood needs. What it needs, I said, is law, not dictatorship. She stepped closer, voice shaking. You embarrassed me. You humiliated everything I built. Everything you stole, I corrected. She flinched. You think people respect you? They fear you. You brought your chaos here. Your niece vandalized my community. She painted her mother, I snapped. We stood inches apart, rain beginning to spit. I didn't mean for it to go that far, she said. Those men, they were just supposed to scare you off. You hired felons, Patricia. She blinked, hesitation cracking her armor. You can't prove... I pulled my phone from my pocket. Actually, I can. Her gaze darted to it. Delete it, she whispered. Not a chance. She reached out suddenly, desperate, grabbing my wrist. The motion was quick but clumsy. My phone slipped from my hand, skidding across wet asphalt. We both stared at it, recording light still blinking red. For a long second, neither of us moved. Then she backed away, breath uneven. You're destroying yourself, she said. No, I said, retrieving the phone. I'm saving everyone else. She climbed back into her car and sped off, tires hissing through the rain. Back home, Daniel was waiting on the porch, phone in hand. You got it? Yeah, I said, showing him the video. Patricia's voice clear, admitting to hiring the men. He let out a breath I didn't know he'd been holding. Then it's over. Almost, I said, watching the chimes sway in the dawn wind. Now, we make it public. By Monday morning, Maple Crest Estates was a different battlefield. No fake cops in sight, no patrol cars either. Just the stillness that follows when someone realizes their secrets are bleeding into daylight. Patricia's house looked sterile, blinds drawn, porch light still on from the night before. I stood across the street with coffee cooling in my hand, phone buzzing in my pocket like a live wire. Sanders had texted, "Got your file. This woman's cooked. Sending a deputy for a statement soon." That should have felt like victory, but I knew better. Patricia wasn't the type to surrender. She was the type to rewrite history while it was still happening. Inside, Emma sat on the couch with her sketchbook, pencil tapping rhythmically against the page. Are they going to arrest her? She asked. Eventually, I said, but I need her to trip herself first. Emma frowned. What does that mean? It means she's going to try to cover her tracks, and I'm going to let her. The door creaked open. Daniel stepped in, clutching a folder. His hair was damp from the morning drizzle, his expression halfway between exhaustion and resolve. I couldn't sleep, he said, so I went digging. He laid the folder on the table. Inside were HOA newsletters from the past year, each signed by Patricia, each boasting security initiatives, contract expansions, and community partnerships. Look here, he said, tapping a date. This newsletter came out before the board even approved funding. I nodded. Premature announcement? That's intent. He grinned weakly. Feels like we're getting close. We are. I scanned the papers, cross-referencing them with the payment timestamps from the evidence log. The overlap wasn't subtle. It was bold. Patricia had been funneling money months before any board vote. Daniel's phone buzzed. He frowned. She's texting residents. He showed me the screen. Urgent HOA meeting tonight to address false claims circulating online. I smirked. She's panicking. He hesitated. You think she'll try to spin it? She'll try to bury it, I said. So we beat her to it. Emma looked up. You're going to post the video? Not yet, I said. I'll leak the invoices first. Let her deny those. Then the footage lands. I spent the next hour anonymizing the documents, cropping metadata, removing identifying marks. Old habits from detective work. By noon, the files were live on a public HOA forum under the title, "Where Are Our Dues Going?" It didn't take long. Within an hour, 20 comments, then 50, then 100. Screenshots flooded in, neighbors arguing, demanding explanations, quoting bylaws Patricia had weaponized. By 2 p.m., someone had posted a still frame from Daniel's video, the SUV reflection showing Patricia behind the wheel. That one broke. The dam. The next sound was a knock on the door. Sharp, official. Sanders stood there, badge gleaming under the gray light. "Morning, Coleman. You stirred a hornet's nest." "Good," I said. "Means we found the queen." He stepped inside, flipping open a notebook. "You got her confession?" I played the recording from last night. Patricia's voice filled the room. "Those men, they were just supposed to scare you off." Sanders whistled low. "That's admission enough for impersonation and misuse of funds. County attorney's gonna love this." He glanced around. "You really turned your house into an evidence locker?" "Temporarily," he chuckled. "You never could turn it off, huh?" "Not when it's personal," I said. After he left, the neighborhood erupted. Car doors slammed, blinds shifted, whispers rippled through lawns and porches. Patricia's fortress facade was crumbling. Daniel returned in the afternoon, phone buzzing nonstop. "She's losing control," he said. "Half the board just resigned." "Good," I said. "That'll make it easier for law enforcement to move in." He nodded, then hesitated. "She came to my house earlier, knocked. Didn't say a word, just left a note." I unfolded it. Patricia's handwriting, neat, deliberate. "You think you're safe behind your badge, but you're not the only one who can dig." "Threat," I said simply. Daniel's hands trembled. "You think she'll try something again?" "She's desperate," I said, "but desperation makes mistakes." Outside, thunder rolled low, carrying across rooftops. The first drops of another storm dotted the porch. Emma looked up from her sketchbook. She'd drawn the mural again, only this time it wasn't cracked or faded. The bird, her mother's bird, soared above the fence line. "I'm finishing it tomorrow," she said. "Then I'll be out there with you," I said. As the rain deepened, Patricia's house went dark. No porch light, no movement. Only the faint shimmer of blue from inside, the glow of screens as she scrambled to rewrite her downfall. I watched from my window, calm as the thunder pressed closer. The wind chime rattled in the gusts. Its notes sharper now, defiant, ready. Tomorrow would bring arrests, headlines, maybe even peace. But tonight, the storm belonged to us. Monday night came heavy with thunder. The rain pounded the rooftops of Maple Crest Estates, turning the pristine lawns into silver mirrors. Each flash of lightning etched the neighborhood in white for half a second. Brief, brutal truth before darkness swallowed it again. Patricia's porch light flickered on and off like a warning. I sat by the window, laptop open, tracking the community forum. Comments multiplied faster than I could read them. Words like embezzlement, fake police, resignation filled the screen. Patricia had gone silent online, but silence from a manipulator was never retreat. It was recalibration. Emma was upstairs, finishing the mural sketch. The graphite strokes sounded like a heartbeat through the floorboards. Daniel paced my living room, the glow of his phone lighting his face. "She's calling people one by one," he said. "She's telling them you fabricated evidence." I smiled faintly. "Of course she is. She's good at this, Mike. She makes lies sound like policy. That's why we hit her where policy can't save her, paperwork and proof." Lightning flashed again, followed by a sharp crack. Daniel flinched. "That wasn't thunder." I was already on my feet. Outside, the gate had been forced open. The motion light above the porch clicked on, revealing two figures in wet vests. Patricia's hired muscle again. The same pair who'd tried to take Emma weeks ago. Daniel whispered, "They're back." "Stay inside," I said, drawing my firearm. Old instincts flooded in. Measured breathing, slow steps, eyes tracking movement. The taller man circled toward the garage, flashlight slicing through rain. I stepped out. "That's far enough." They froze. The shorter one called out, "We just want to talk." "Then talk from there." The taller man shifted. "We heard you've been spreading lies about Ms. Mallory." Lies don't come with timestamps and county seals, I said. He raised his hand like he was calming me, but the motion revealed a baton clipped to his belt. No ID again, still pretending. I'd rethink this, I said. The sheriff's already involved. You're trespassing and impersonating officers. The taller one laughed. Who's gonna believe you, detective? You're on leave. Every camera in this neighborhood, I said, starting with the one above your head. His gaze darted upward. Too late. The small red light blinked, catching everything. The shorter man cursed under his breath. Let's go. But the tall one wasn't done. She's not going down alone, he said. She's got insurance. What kind of insurance? I asked. He smirked. Ask the bank. Before I could press, they turned and bolted toward the street. Tires squealed. The SUV vanished into rain. Daniel stepped out, pale. What did he mean? Insurance, I muttered. She's hiding something bigger than HOA funds. I opened my laptop again, water dripping from my jacket. The banking records I'd flagged earlier. There was one transfer I hadn't recognized. A large one, not from HOA dues, but from a personal account. First Heritage Bank. Joint account, Mallory A. Kendall. Kendall? Daniel asked, reading over my shoulder. Her husband, I said. Divorced 5 years ago. Could he be involved? Or blackmailing her, I said. If he's been helping her move money, she's not the only one facing prison. The realization settled like another clap of thunder. Patricia hadn't just broken HOA laws, she'd built a whole financial pipeline out of this community. The fake cops were just her shield. I checked the camera feed. Both men's faces were clear. One I recognized from a county arrest log. Assault, impersonation, parole violation. That's enough to bring them in, I said. Daniel nodded slowly. You're sending it to Sanders? In the morning, I said. Tonight I want her scared. I walked to the porch, rain soaking through my shirt. Across the street, Patricia's curtain shifted. I raised my phone, held it up just long enough for her to see the recording light. Her shadow froze. You see that? Daniel said. Yeah, I said quietly. She knows it's over. He followed my gaze to Emma's mural, faint even through the downpour. The rain streaked its colors, blending blue and crimson until it looked alive again. She's gonna fall hard, Daniel said. She already has, I replied. She just hasn't hit the ground yet. A final gust shook the porch, sending the wind chime into a furious spin. The metallic notes clashed like steel, chaotic, relentless, triumphant. I smiled, watching Patricia's curtain twitch once more. Tomorrow, the real cops show up, I said, and this neighborhood finally gets its freedom back. Behind me, the chime steadied, finding a calm rhythm in the storm. The sound carried across the rain, the same tune my sister loved, the one that always meant it's almost over. Dawn arrived brittle and clear. Patricia's porch blinds were drawn, but her house looked exposed. Sanders texted, "Deputy en route with subpoena." I pulled on boots and stepped into the street. Dew soaked my soles, the mailbox metal cold under my palm, and the wind chime at my own porch sang one thin note, sharp as a starting pistol. The deputy knocked, voice practiced. "Detective Coleman?" "Paperwork," I answered. Sanders and 2 deputies moved like clockwork, serving subpoenas and requesting records. Patricia opened the door in slippers, hair pinned, smile worn thin. "You're making a scene," she said. "We're following up on allegations," Sanders replied. Neighbors spilled onto porches, drawn to the authority of uniforms. Daniel stood at the curb, hat in hand, face steady. The detective asked for her laptop, and she handed it over with a flourish that felt like surrender. "Will this be public?" a neighbor whispered. "Not yet," I said. They read a warrant and began to copy files. On her screen, draft emails to Metro Community Response swam with timestamps and edit histories. The ledger matched the files I'd posted. Patricia's fingers trembled as she signed papers. "You won't find anything that matters," she said. "We'll let the evidence speak," Sanders said. They bagged uniforms in clear evidence sacks. The smell of wet fabric and toner rose up, sharp. Radios were tagged. A deputy photographed ledger lines, Mallory Properties payouts circled in red. One officer lifted a vest. The barcode label hung like a confession. Reporters arrived, their cameras clicking like insects. Sanders read a short statement about an ongoing investigation into alleged impersonation and misuse of HOA funds. I stayed silent. Evidence should lead. At the cruiser, she turned to me, voice low. "You've ruined me." "You ruined more than yourself," I said. They escorted her to the cruiser. Neighbors watched, some clapped softly, many only stared. Emma hugged her sketchbook to her chest, breath shallow, eyes on the disappearing taillights. Back at the sheriff's office, we gave formal statements under fluorescent light. The interview room smelled of coffee and bleach. A recorder clicked, and every eye saw became a transcript. Mrs. Kim described notices, Thomas recited dates. Daniel handed over the thumb drive and exhaled like someone letting go of a held breath. Sanders pulled me aside. "If forensics line up, it's embezzlement and conspiracy," he said. "You think she'll fight?" I asked. "She'll litigate and spin, but you found the thread." By afternoon, deputies executed warrants at a strip mall address tied to Mallory Properties LLC and requested a freeze on a joint bank account. Boxes of ledgers were hauled into evidence, receipts and invoices spread like a map of intent. One deputy held up a soggy invoice, toner smudged like an accusing fingerprint. A local news post went up. HOA president arrested after allegations of fake security. The headline landed like a ledger, balancing a long list of small crimes. That evening, the neighborhood clustered on porches, voice hushed and bright with relief. Patricia's house sat dark, curtains parted as if a mask had been pulled away. My phone buzzed with messages, offers to help, confessions of fear, neighbors asking what to do next. Emma traced a final line on the mural sketch and looked up. "Do you think they'll come after us?" she asked. "They already tried," I said. "Now they'll answer." I sat on the curb as the sun burned through clouds, pavement warm under my palms. Badge heavy in my pocket, though I wasn't on duty. I sketched next steps, coordinate forensic accounting with Sanders, secure sworn affidavits, duplicate every digital file, and set up witness protection contacts. Evidence is delicate, witnesses more so. We'd lock records in multiple places, notify the county attorney, and prepare a press summary to counter any spin. This wasn't about revenge. It was procedural, professional expertise exposing corruption, letting law finish the work and preserve the neighborhood's trust for good. By Tuesday evening, Maple Crest Estates had turned into a theater. Cars lined the curb outside the community center, headlights cutting through the dusk. The HOA had called an emergency transparency meeting, a final attempt by Patricia's allies to contain the fallout. I parked under the oak tree, the same one where Emma's mural once bloomed in color. The air smelled like wet bark and static, another storm brewing. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed like nervous energy. The room was packed, residents whispering, reporters waiting. Daniel sat near the front, hands clasped, knuckles pale. Mrs. Kim was beside him, whispering a prayer under her breath. At the center table, the interim chair, a thin man named Gerald Weiss cleared his throat. "We're here to address recent allegations concerning former President Patricia Mallory." Before he could continue, the double doors swung open. Patricia walked in. She looked smaller now, her tan faded, her posture tight as wire. The murmur of the crowd rippled through the room like wind through grass. She carried a folder under one arm and defiance under the other. "Before you begin your public crucifixion," she said, "I have a statement." Gerald shifted uneasily. "Mrs. Mallory, this isn't—" "It is," she said sharply. "I built this community. You think you can destroy me with doctored evidence?" I stood. "The only thing doctored here was your financial records." Her eyes snapped toward me. "You think this makes you a hero, detective. You don't belong here. You brought chaos into a peaceful neighborhood." I stepped forward slowly, the sound of my boots steady against the tile. Peace built on fear isn't peace. It's control. The projector screen flickered to life behind me. Sanders's team had arrived quietly, laptop in hand. He nodded once. The first image filled the screen. Patricia's bank records. HOA payments routed into her company. The second slide, footage of her at the clubhouse with her officers. Then the last clip, her confession from the parking lot, voice shaking in the rain. The room went silent except for the faint whine of the projector fan. Patricia's mask shattered in slow motion. "You set me up," she whispered. I shook my head. You set yourself up. I just hit record. Murmurs grew into gasps. Someone in the back shouted, We trusted you. Another added, You took our money. Her folder slipped from her hands, papers spilling like white confetti across the floor. She tried to gather them, but her movements were clumsy, panic overtaking grace. Sanders stepped forward. Patricia Mallory, you're under arrest for embezzlement, impersonation, and conspiracy. The words hung in the air, heavy and final. She turned once, eyes finding mine. You don't know what you've done, she said quietly. You think you won, but you'll see what peace costs. Then the cuffs clicked shut. Outside, reporters swarmed. Cameras flashed as Patricia was guided into the cruiser, rain starting to fall again, soft, cleansing. Daniel joined me under the overhang, his voice low. She really thought she was untouchable. She was, I said, until she met accountability. He chuckled, exhausted. You ever think you'd end you? Up fighting suburban corruption? Crime's the same everywhere, I said. Only the uniforms change. Across the lot, Emma stood by the car, umbrella tilted against the rain. When she saw me, she lifted her sketchbook, a new drawing, the mural, restored. But this time the bird wasn't trapped behind a fence. It was flying free, wind chime dangling below it. Daniel followed my gaze. You gonna let her paint it again? Tomorrow, I said. No one's painting over it this time. The rain fell harder, washing the last of Patricia's posters from the bulletin board. They peeled away like old skin, leaving the cork bare, ready for something new. The storm that had started with a confrontation on my driveway was finally ending, not with noise, but with relief. Justice didn't roar, it whispered, and in that whisper, the wind chimes sang once more. By Wednesday morning, the neighborhood felt lighter, like someone had finally exhaled after holding their breath too long. Rainwater still glittered on the sidewalks, and the sky stretched open, clean and blue. Patricia's house sat empty now, a for sale sign already tilting in her front yard. The echo of her presence lingered only in the cracks she'd left behind, letters torn from the bulletin board, fines no one would pay, fear finally beginning to fade. Emma was already outside, brush in hand, standing before the fence. She'd been up since dawn, mixing colors in paper cups, humming quietly to herself. The air smelled of wet wood and acrylic paint. You sure you want to finish it today? I asked. She looked over her shoulder, grinning. It's a good day for closure. Her first strokes were deliberate, each one reclaiming space that had once been stolen. The bird she painted now wasn't a symbol of grief. It was flight itself, wings open wide. I leaned against the porch rail, coffee cooling in my hands, the wind chimes gentle clinking keeping rhythm with her brush. Daniel walked over from across the street. He carried a small paper bag and a look that mixed relief with exhaustion. Brought muffins, he said. Community peace offering. Thanks, I said. He glanced at the mural. That kid's got guts. She gets it honest, I said. Daniel nodded toward Patricia's house. You think she'll ever come back? No, I said. Some people don't know how to live without control. Once it's gone, they've got nothing left to anchor to. He exhaled. Guess that makes this place yours now. I don't want ownership, I said. Just balance. Sanders stopped by around noon, patrol SUV idling at the curb. He stepped out, sunglasses perched low, expression somewhere between pride and disbelief. Well, detective, county attorney's charging her with 4 counts: fraud, impersonation, misuse of funds, and conspiracy to intimidate. I nodded. Good. He grinned. You realize this'll hit the local news cycle hard? HOA scandal, fake cops, homicide detective turns whistleblower. It's cinematic. Keep my name out of it, I said. He smirked. You always say that. Daniel chuckled softly. He means it. Sanders tipped his hat. You did good, Mike. Most people just grumble about their HOA fees. You took down a whole empire. When he left, the neighborhood was already buzzing again. Kids playing basketball, dogs barking, sprinklers hissing to life. The illusion of perfection had cracked, but what replaced it felt real. Emma stepped back from the fence, streak of blue on her cheek. Done, she said. The mural was radiant. The bird soared past the frame of the fence, breaking into sky, feathers tipped with gold and crimson. Beneath it, she'd written a single line. Freedom needs witnesses. Daniel stood beside me, eyes glassy. That's something, he said quietly. It's truth, I said. The wind picked up, brushing through the trees, carrying the faint scent of paint and rain. The chime above the porch swayed gently, steady, alive. Emma set her brush down and leaned against me. Mom would have liked this, she said. She would have loved it, I said, and meant it. For the first time since moving here, I felt the kind of quiet that didn't hide danger behind it, just life, honest, imperfect, earned. Daniel turned toward the street, where a few neighbors waved shyly. You think they'll start trusting each other again? Eventually, I said. It starts small. A wave, a hello, maybe a muffin. He laughed. Yeah, muffins fix everything. We watched the paint dry as sunlight broke through the last patch of clouds. For the first time, I let myself breathe without bracing for the next fight. Patricia Mallory had built her world on control, but she forgot one truth I'd learned on every crime scene. The truth doesn't need permission to surface. It just needs time. I looked at Emma's mural one last time, the bird rising above the fence, wings bright against the sky. The wind chime rang softly. 3 clear notes, like punctuation at the end of a long sentence. This started with intimidation, I said, mostly to myself. But it ends with peace. I turned to Daniel and smiled. And if anyone else tries to play dictator here, well, we've got a witness and a camera. He grinned. And a detective who doesn't quit. Retired, I corrected, though I wasn't sure I believed it. The sun climbed higher, the mural glowed, the wind chimes sang. And for the first time in months, Maple Crest Estates felt human again. If you've ever had to fight for your peace, if you've ever turned chaos into clarity, subscribe. Because justice doesn't always roar, sometimes it paints wings.